I don't know if you've heard about this, but Harrison Butker is in the headlines. Kansas City Chiefs kicker delivered a commencement address to Benedictine College recently, May the 11th, actually. And debates about religion and gender have taken place since this commencement address that Butker delivered for a second consecutive year. He did this at another college last year. And he expressed his personal family values, his belief. He was in the pulpit to preach his Catholic faith to a small Catholic liberal arts college, Benedictine. And a week later, well, here we go, still discussing Harrison Butker's comments and the nonsensical arguments of race, believe it or not, has now been brought into the mix. And the name of the player who loves hearing his name involved in said argument, but doesn't like really hearing his name involved in, playing the sport to show that he's trying to get back into the league that everyone continues to talk about him being in. Colin Kaepernick is who we're talking about, of course. The Kaepernick alarms were sounding for those seeking a lazy column, those that were looking for the name drop. It was free for the taking right here. And you better believe that an ESPN product stepped up to the plate and tried to hit a homer with a freebie, a slow toss down the middle, a layup. And especially for the site Anscape, if you haven't heard of it, it's a site owned by Walt Disney Company, ESPN, and they say it's a reimagination, expansion, and diversification of what the undefeated was. Writer David Dennis Jr. was prepared to make somehow the argument that not only Butker is he's anti-trans, he is anti-woman, he's also, white. And that's the reason that the NFL didn't come down with a harsher tone in their statement, that they didn't come down with some regulation striking down the comments of Harrison Butker at the commencement address of Benedictine College on May the 11th. Chad was going to chime in on this as well, and he said this: finding something that a white guy has done and trying to find the link to compare the guy and the behavior of Colin Kaepernick to him isn't that hard to figure out. He says it's very simple. One act cost the NFL money, the other didn't, and it won't. And yes, both have First Amendment rights. I think we all know that. But only one will hurt the NFL's bottom line. And does any idiot truly believe that fans won't watch Chiefs games because, their kicker gave a speech about family values at a small Catholic school? I agree with him there. And the other part is, it's not going to be the clickbait that everybody else wants. Because it's Harrison Butker, a kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, where there's more clamoring for some type of statement from the organization about the statement that Butker made last week. I don't understand this one bit. Neither did Whoopi Goldberg, of all people, last week, saying that he can say and believe whatever he wants, so can I. I agree with her, just like I agree that Harrison Butker can say what he wants. And said college can ask him next year to deliver the commencement address. Not only that, here's David Harris Jr. trying to play the race card in a spot where I didn't hear anything about Harrison Butker saying that you're headed to eternal damnation if your skin is not the right color, or you're not going to be punished, and I'm the righteous one because, I'm a kicker, I'm white, and there are many who are not. That's not the tone of what he was saying. And it is the tone of what David Harris Jr. is trying to say. Davey, this is, I just thought this was lazy. And if not for the ability to see where, I believe this was Bomani Jones's spot.
Yeah.
If not for that, I wouldn't know anything about this site.
No, I didn't. I mean, this is basically.
But this is that the site is there not for us. It's there to look for the racism. Look for it, not find it, because it's becoming harder to find.
Yeah, Anscape's pretty much ESPN's own little DEI program that they have set up on the side just so they can make sure that they're hitting all the check marks whenever it comes to, we're going to make sure we cover race and anything that might hit that political spectrum. We're going to make sure we get all those boxes checked off. I'd love to hear more on Chad's take on this later, because I think bringing up the Colin Kaepernick comparisons are a very interesting one to go forward with. And the big difference for me in this situation is Colin Kaepernick was doing this on the field before the games in front of millions and millions of people. And we talk about it with Harrison Butker. He's delivering this commencement address, and I would imagine there's maybe 5,000 people max in attendance for this college. And so whenever you're taking that into comparison and you're at a school, a Catholic school, just talking about your ideals as a man who follows Catholicism, it's laughable in a way in which we see a lot of these media members take this conversation. I know like Rich Eisen was outraged by the remarks made by Butker. And the bigger thing that I've been seeing multiple people do is they're just going to cherry pick one line here, one line there, and they don't look at the speech in its entirety. And when you do that, you're able to try to make these profound statements of, all right, well, I'm going to really be able to get at them whenever you're looking at it. It's like, we're going to point out the Pride Month situation, or we're going to talk about the, I'm trying to think of what David Dennis Jr. was saying with the marginalized groups. I mean, really, Catholicism, Christianity, it's the only religion in which you would have seen people make a fuss about this.
Well, then that's what we're seeing. There are people making a fuss about this. Not the usual suspects, though. Like the usual crew that you would point to, like the White House, which we'll get to in a moment. But in Missouri, and coming up, tomorrow morning on OutKick the Morning with Charlie Arnault, you'll be able to hear more of this interview where there's the Attorney General for Missouri. And, there's outrage about the way that the mayor of Kansas City and the office of the mayor has been using social media and speaking out. And you can hear more about this tomorrow, outkick.com/watch, which is at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. But here's a preview of what Attorney General for Missouri, Andrew Bailey, said when he calls out the mayor's office.
Anyone who was involved in this terrible decision to retaliate against Harrison Butker should be fired and terminated immediately. Here's my concern. The mayor has said that there's an internal human resource investigation going on. And I think what he's trying to do is close the records we've demanded under an exception under the state open records law that allows for closure when they deal with a personnel record. That's not going to work in this instance. Transparency is demanded and accountability is demanded in this instance, and he owes that to the public. If you can close any record you want saying, well, it's related to an HR investigation, then no communication would ever be subject to the state's open records law. So he's trying to get out ahead of this and making a specious legal argument, and we're not going to let that fly. We're not going to be stonewalled by the city in our demand for accountability in this instance.
Yeah, and he goes on to say that he even feels that Butker's got a case against the office as well. Stay tuned to this. Arguments on both sides. And you can be outraged, by the way, about whatever Harrison Butker had to say. Have at it. But don't be like this example. Karine Jean-Pierre is the White House press secretary. And she was asked about from CNN's MJ Lee, if you can believe this, if the Kansas City Chiefs, the team, including, and well, more specifically, Harrison Butker, are all welcome at the White House for the president's greeting of the Super Bowl champions.
Okay. Thanks, Green. Can we still assume that the Kansas City Chiefs will be visiting the White House this year in celebration of their Super Bowl victory?
So what I can say is all the team, per usual, when there is a championship team gets invited. I don't have anything to add on if their attendance or how that looks, but the team is always invited. Everyone on the team is invited. I just don't have anything beyond that.
So can you confirm, you said everyone on the team is obviously invited. Is the Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker welcome at this White House?
What I can say, you would have to obviously, what I can say is we invite the entire team and we do that always. I don't have anything beyond that.
Given his recent comments, is he specifically welcome at this?
We invite
White
the
House?
team. We invite the team. It's an invitation that goes to the team, and so it's up to the team who comes and who doesn't come. That's the way it usually works.
Given his comments, is he welcome at this White House? MJ Lee should know this, and I would hope she does. The White House is also known as the people's house. We learned that at a young age. For all Americans, not just those who make it through the checkpoint of CNN. And I definitely, by the way, went to make sure that that's still the principle of the home itself, because I'm turning 40 this week. My White House knowledge, not what it used to be the long time ago when I went through that class in elementary school. But yes, it's right there at whitehouse.gov. Quote, the White House is where the president and first family of the United States live and work, but it's also the people's house, where we hope all Americans feel a sense of inclusion and belonging. How is this outrage over Butker inclusive? Where is the belonging? Where is, the outrage if a Scientologist said this, a Mormon, a Muslim, if he were Jewish? We wouldn't be having this conversation because of inclusion, because of the ability to say what you want at a university that invited you to deliver the commencement address. But there are those in the press, those covering the NFL, and across any profession throughout the country, believe Harrison Butker should be blocked from attending the White House celebration. President Joe Biden is Roman Catholic. Is he allowed to attend? Kamala Harris is Baptist. She was raised in a Baptist church in, I believe, Oakland, California, the Church of God. And she has said that she follows the Bible's teachings. I'm sure CNN is on the beat right now, sending MJ Lee to ask the question if Kamala Harris is welcome at this specific White House. It's asinine. And Harrison Butker, by the way, is saying the same thing, just from his point of view, and that's okay. And so are they, and so are you and me and anyone. I don't agree with everything he said. But if I'm willing to listen and attempt to understand the sentiment of those preaching inclusion, while they're also attempting to exclude someone from saying what he believes and what he makes a priority in his life, then the everyone's welcome stance should, change title. If you're not buying into all of that. If everyone's welcome, everyone's welcome. It's more than just the chosen few, the chosen ones. It means that Americans from faith-based households, like the Butkers, those who gave a standing ovation at Benedictine College, from the streets to the priests, and the president and vice president of the United States, they're all welcome at the White House. MJ Lee, have fun reporting that to CNN when they didn't take the bait, saying that, we're going to leave that up to the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, the team is welcome. Yes, the team. How about the guy that, is Chiefsaholic welcome? Is that the next follow-up question? Davies on that one. Going to find out what he's up to. I hope that
he's still in jail. So.
If he's still in jail, hopefully the attorney can actually
Go there on his behalf.
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
sure he could give us another great soliloquy.
He would be great at giving the speech. I know that. It's just so dumb. The Harrison Butker outrage, and you don't. There can be a disagreement with what he said. Fine, you don't like it, but it's turned into the fact that you've got David Dennis Jr., who I'm not sure would even hold a door for a woman based on the column that he wrote. That would not be, that would not be wise. That would be following a principle that Harrison Butker would be following, and that just can't happen.
She's a strong woman. She doesn't need anybody to open the door for her.
Yeah, that's right. I think that it has gotten to a sense of, if you're a stay-at-home mom, if you're a homemaker, that's okay. Do what you want to do. And I think this it's spiraled into this. You can't do that. You cannot do this and be respected because, well, you're doing what the man says in the household. I don't know how we got there. Sounds like the Butkers, both husband and wife, are pretty happy with what they're doing. And I bet they're raising a solid family. I bet it's a solid home. Just saying. I think it's pretty easy to guess that there's not much controversy coming out of that house. And that's great. That's where I think everything's just fine with how they're going about believing and choosing to live their life the way they're living it.
What they should do, Hud, is maybe adopt Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice. So, okay. Rashee Rice is at the voluntary OTAs. Congratulations, Rashee Rice. He's on the roster. He's not suspended. They're not going to put him. Common sense would tell you, Rashee Rice is going to be practicing until he's not allowed to practice. That's the NFL policy. Even if he were suspended, there'll still be a rejoin period where he can go and practice with the team. The report was, 3 or 4 weeks ago, that Rashee Rice was expected, the Chiefs were expecting him to be suspended by the league around half a season. And then came the incident and the charges where he assaulted a photographer at like 2:30 in the morning at some club in Miami on a Sunday/Monday morning, Sunday night, Monday morning. Andy Reid, he said that he thinks that he'll participate in all the offseason activities. This is after the police had charges against him back in, April. So this photographer has attempted to drop the charges. But reading through the details, it's not like he can just drop charges and say he's not going to press charges and everything's just going to be fine. Tom Pelissero reported that the photographer had dropped all charges against Rice, but the law enforcement, they can come back and say, well, no, you can't do that. It's up to us. It's up to the it's up to the prosecutor's office.
And
and you have the prosecutor who's going to determine whether or not the district attorney, whether or not they're going to go after Rashee Rice for what happened here.
And right now, it does not look as though there is any video evidence of the assault taking place, which plays a big role because if this person, the photographer, is saying, like, you know what, I'm no longer looking to press charges, which likely what happened is the Rice camp came to him and said, hey, we'll give you this payout if you decide to just try to make things go away. If he's not willing to testify and cooperate, then the prosecutors, their case becomes a lot harder to be able to move forward. A good example, and again, video changes everything. We didn't think Ray Rice was going to have any charges at all whenever he was assaulting. I want to make sure I get his wife's name right at the time. It was.
Well, in the elevator, though.
Yeah, in the elevator. I
was brutal.
Lost that. But before that video came out, it looked like he was going to maybe get 1 or 2 game suspension just because of how the domestic abuse situation in the NFL had continued to build at that point, and there were more and more negative headlines for the league. But again, whenever you don't have a cooperating witness, it makes things a lot more difficult, and that's why the prosecution will likely, unless something comes out, just let this one go. But it still doesn't mean the NFL can't look to tack this on because, I mean, at this point, dealing with everything Rashee Rice is going through, he's falling into that repeat offender category whenever it comes to just being a detriment to the league as far as how they're looking and when it comes to protecting the shield.
So Janae
Rice,
is ex-wife, right? And then it was Dallas, not Miami, where he was early in the morning.
Oh, yes.
The Dallas nightclub. I need to get that right. The details matter, Dave.
And Dallas was also where the racing incident where multiple cars and several people were injured took place.
Yeah, it's I mean, he's not going to see the season. However, in saying that, Goodell did say publicly that they're going to let the legal process play out. That can take a while, but it seems to be moving along at a fairly fast pace, given the fact that they wanted him to turn himself in. He's now he's got another charge on him for assaulting this photographer. My guess is because it's the same jurisdiction, it's the same person that would be deciding if they're going to prosecute, right? From the office standpoint.
I believe so. I'm trying to think of the charges for both. Yeah, I mean, I believe everything happened in the same county. I know Dallas, Fort Worth. There's technically what, 2 counties there?
Yeah, there are.
Okay.
There are, but I mean, who knows where this nightclub? Maybe it was right on the border. Right on the border of Dallas, Fort Worth, Davey. Or maybe it was in Arlington. Maybe it was at Jerry's World.
Rashee Rice needs to get his act together. Doesn't look like he's learning as of right now.
No, it doesn't sound like he's with it in terms of what he could be losing. And he's lucky. I mean, based on what was going on there on the interstate or the freeways, I mean, lucky no one was
killed. Simply as
including him. I mean, as fast as what they were doing, I mean, it's just stupid. And it follows the trend that we're seeing with the high speeds, which is just I don't understand it. Maybe I'm old. I mean, I drove a car really fast one time, and it didn't feel like I was going that fast. I understand you feel like you're coasting.
Yeah,
it's crazy on some of these cars, but intentionally doing it to race, I was just doing it to see how fast I could go. And then my girlfriend at the time, her dad put a governor on that Mercedes compressor the next day.
It's different if you've got the highway to yourself.
It was capped at 80 miles per hour after that.
Not advocating for this. I'm saying it's different if you're on a road by yourself versus freeway traffic going in all 4 lanes at that point. It doesn't make any sense.
So coming up, Tim Brando's going to join us in about 5 minutes. We have Ned Michaels around the bend, and then in hour number 2, Pete Nakus will join us, and specifically about the Jaden Rashada lawsuit. He's suing Billy Napier, Florida head coach, and he's also suing the top Gators booster, Hugh Hathcock is his name. And there's also a staffer that's listed here as well over a failed name, image, likeness contract, a deal that would have paid him almost $14 million. And this is a federal court that this was filed in earlier today. I wonder what could happen to Billy Napier. And could Florida fire him with cause if they had nothing to do about it, nothing to do with it, and they somehow figure out and can point to, even if they've known, even if it's not true, don't know. But based on this lawsuit, if they can link Napier directly to the booster and directly to, at the time, what would be not allowed, Rashada, could that lead to a spot where if there's not a quick start for the Gators, Napier's on his way out? If you're looking for a reason, you can find a reason. Ask Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee, where they fired him with cause and he tried to fight it. I'm going to ask Tim Brando about that. And Brando's always pissed off for greatness. We've got plenty to dive into, including the NCAA settlement that could happen. And I believe he's ready to rock and roll on ESPN's coverage of the New York Knicks throughout the playoffs. That's straight ahead right here on Hot Mic.